end zone and keeping the feet somehow from hitting the ground.
I feel for the Denver defense as a former defensive player watching this because they had everything covered. How still? Josh, I can't grasp. They had everything covered. He still had an answer.
Fourth quarter, the Bills just dominating the game. It's Allen. It's Curtis Samuel. He's going to make a man miss. Teddy's going to break this play down for you in a moment. Allen winds up throwing for 272 and 2 touchdowns. Ran it for 46 more. Bills win this one going away 31-7. And so let's briefly get into this here. D-Wood, what was your favorite thing about Buffalo's plan yesterday?
I love the fact that Buffalo uses an extra lineman. They used six linemen in the game.
You love that extra lineman,
16 times.
Oh, yeah?
They did this whole season. They've ran extra linemen 77 more times than any other team. It just sets the tone. You know, this Denver Broncos team, they like to rush the passer. Well, guess what? You can't rush the passer if you never get to third and long. Right. When they just came out and they were just, look at this right here. You know, like, look at this. When you do stuff like that, the defense, they're demoralized. They're done. They're done. The tone of the game is set right there. There's nothing more deflating than watching your offensive lineman literally dragging the running back an extra 10 yards in the game. That's what Buffalo did all game. It was just a bunch of body blows out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about it. Look, 96 rushing yards on first down alone by James Cook. Like, hey, you know it's coming, and you can't do anything about it. And we talked about this Denver defense. Boy, they led the league in sacks. You got to earn the right to rush the passer. Yeah. Buffalo's like, look, we got Superman back there, but you know what? We're going to ground and pound the hell out of you. Why? Because you're soft up front. And all those little speed pass rushers you got don't look so good when they're getting their butts kicked at the line of scrimmage by a 330-pound guy, extra lineman in there. Yeah. They just mauled them. I loved it. This was great old-school game. Great coaching by Sean McDermott and company right there. They're like, and basically they just said, you know what, now, look, you're a finesse team. In the playoffs, you better be a power team. You're finesse, you're going to get destroyed. And they put it out there.
There's a lot of that. A lot of just beating up and bludgeoning guys on the offensive line. But then offensive coordinator Joe Brady, he breaks out quad. I mean, so you're worried about stopping the run. And here comes quad in terms of defensively. Quad means you got 4 wide receivers on one side. And here it is up here at the top because you got quad and Denver's playing man-to-man. And then you got a little bit of motion, so we bump it defensively. You see the bump right there by the DBs. And then they try to bump it back and then switch it back. But then look at all the space on the other side because of the short crosser from the number 1 receiver on the other. And it's like, check zone, get out of man because all of that traffic. And then so you're getting bludgeoned by the run. And here it comes. And then you got to adjust the quad. This team does everything. And then the 4th down earlier, let's get that covered up. We've got the wheel route. We've got Josh bottled up, and he can still hit Ty Johnson on the back end. So there's so much.
And you got the jelly split on the backside of that quads, which, of course, you know what he's going to do. Run the drive route. Right? Yeah, because you know you're going to run a pick route.
Too much traffic in quad.
Way too much.
So much traffic in quad.
Yeah, you got jelly split on the backside. Did you notice that?
Right.
Jeez.
This is called making fun of the host. So in the meeting this morning, Teddy starts talking about this play. Without the video, I have no idea what he's saying. And Rex starts saying, well, they went into a jelly split. And I said, guys, is there any English that we can speak in this conversation? Because I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. One way or another, the Bills move on. It's going to be Josh Allen against Lamar Jackson next Sunday night. You cannot ask for a better matchup than that. In the meantime, I want to go back to the Eagles and Packers for a minute here. And, Teddy, I'll show you your favorite player in the league against Zach Vaughn making this pick of Jordan Love, which was illustrative in a lot of ways of the day that Jordan Love had. And I think we need a moment on him. We talked all about the Eagles. They're going forward. They have a real shot to win a Super Bowl this year. The Packers do not. And for Jordan Love, their young star quarterback that they paid last year, it was sort of a Charles Dickens season, right? It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Against the bad teams, he was great. Against the good teams, he was 0-6 with as many interceptions as touchdowns and a below 60% completion percentage. Rex, Jordan Love felt like a guy, well, too many of us felt like he was an ascending player. Not all of us.
I told you so.
He did say so. You did.
How about week 1? Did I not tell you then? That's what concerns me. This kid has elite skills, but it is not an elite quarterback. And the reason for it, he's reckless with the football. And to me, he'll never take this team where they want to go until he handles this stuff. Now, this throw, I can understand. Okay? That's just a great play by the defense, a little underthrown, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the other interceptions when he doesn't see the field, he doesn't anticipate coverage, he's playing like a young quarterback here, and now he's been in the league now about, 5 years, 6 years?
He's been a starter for 2, but yes, he has been in the league a long time.
We can't have this. Guy drops coverage, he has no feel for the coverage. Why does Philly sit back and play zone? Because they know you're going to give them a chance to intercept the football. Right. You're going to make the big mistake. And in playoff time, it's crucial that you don't. The 3 interceptions is not surprising. The last one, obviously, he throws it in a team meeting. The kid has to get better. His skills are unbelievable.
Not only defensive coaches, I hate to bring the theme of the book again, but when you have the book on a quarterback and you feel comfortable on who he is, from the defensive coordinator perspective, first of all, Fangio, let's play the zone because he's going to throw it to us anyway. We'll test his patience. We know he doesn't want the short ones. He wants to go deep. He's a very aggressive quarterback, and he doesn't care what he sees because he has an arrogant arm that he thinks he can make any throw. I mean, this is desperation. I understand this, but the Zach Bond. Let me talk about that one in terms of players now knowing who this quarterback is. He had man-to-man coverage on that tight end. The tight end's right in front of him. He knows you don't want him. I'm going to get depth and help because there's no way, even though I leave my man, you're still going to go for the deep in cut coming back, and I dare you to throw the check down because I know that's not who you are. So defensive players, underneath defensive players, defensive coordinators, they know who he is, and this is the problem.
One thing about the Green Bay Packers this year, they were one of the best rushing teams in the National Football League. But a lot of that was out of necessity. I think a lot of the reason why they ran the football was to take the ball out of the quarterback's hands some because, again, he is reckless with the football. You try to minimize mistakes by the quarterback. You talked about arm arrogance. He is very arrogant as far as being able to try to throw things into tight spaces, which can lead to turnovers. So, again, Jordan Love is a very talented quarterback. But, again, like Rex talked about, if he doesn't clean up the turnovers, you're going to find him in big games going over like they did this year.
I was one of the ones. I thought Jordan would end up, I guess there had to be a process up here first that he hasn't taken in terms of he's the same guy he was basically in terms of, like you said, Coach, being reckless with the ball.
He's actually the same guy that he was in college. The same thing when he threw 22 interceptions. And everybody wanted to ignore that. No, you don't ignore it. And to me, that's the biggest thing. My thing is I gave the Packers a chance in this game. All right? On one condition. They give the ball to Jacobs 30 times.
You said
did nothing. Those linebackers are not even giving them the ball. We're just playing pass. We're staying deep in our zones. So to me, that you can't look any of these things. Give it to this kid. You've got a chance. You've got a chance playing as aggressive or more aggressive than the Eagles. You have one guy on your team. One guy, and that's Josh Jacobs, and shame on you for not giving him the football.
They threw it 33 times, and he ran it 18 times. Can I am not a lawyer, but everyone in my family wanted me to be one, so can I make an objection? Someone tell me if this objection will be sustained, okay? Jordan Love, as that game is going on, his offensive line is getting dominated. His best offensive lineman gets knocked out early. He has got pressure in his face the second the ball is snapped, it feels like on every play. And his receivers dropping like flies, one after another. He's already playing without Watson. His next 2 receivers that you've heard of, Romeo Doubs and Jayden Reed, both get hurt in the game. By the end of the game, I do the football show for us. He's throwing the ball to people I've never heard of by the end of that game. Is there no excuse to be made for what was going on around Jordan Love yesterday?
Well, the only excuse is you can tell the teams that they will eventually have to get through, they aren't tough enough to beat. I will say that. Okay, listen, there's when the 2 critical plays that they had, okay, this one and then the play before. Jacobs had went down, and then the receivers are going down, so they've been beat up so much. This is a play that's not on Jordan Love there. That should have been completed right there. There are also decisions Greeny, where like the Bond play, there's no pressure there. It's just, I think that's why that was such a definition for me, that's your true self. That's a defender in a linebacker, knowing who you know your true self is and then playing it like that.
Yeah, I like what Green Bay did in the offseason. They brought in Josh Jacobs. They know they have to be more physical. And yet, at the biggest moment, what did they do? They went back to who they are, which is a finesse football team. And anytime you face a good physical team, you're going to get beat.
So is my objection overruled?
It seems like it.
I'm overruled.
You're overruled.
That's why I didn't go into that line of work. Okay, as we continue. We'll go back to Saturday quickly. Another Steelers playoff loss. Is it possible they could actually move on from their legendary coach? Because as we all know, there is a fine line between drinking wine and crushing grapes. We'll explain it next.
There it is.
The bold Louisiana flavor and crispy crunch of Popeye's signature chicken is the meal your craving deserves. And now you can get 3 pieces for just $5 and make it a meal for only $3 more.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
Son's a sweet dentist on ZocDoc.
Dr. Staff is a real beauty, and people say he's passionate about dentistry.
Dr. Sales on 33rd Street? We could practically skate there. Booked it.
Sweet.
You've got options. Book now.
I'm certain it's level 5.
Are you for
My ESPN Bet Sportsbook, and we have a new feature, and it is called Who Likes Mike? We got 3 Mikes in the news today. Teddy, let's start with yours. The Patriots have announced Mike Vrabel as their new head coach. Do you like Mike taking over?
You know, fellas, I like this, Mike. I played with Braves as a player, and he had success as a head coach. You know, he's been all over the place, even in the college ranks, well connected in the NFL. He's going to tighten the screws, Rex. And they need to be tightened in New England, and this is the guy to do it, to get back to, all right, a little bit of collaboration, okay, but it's mainly Braves telling everyone, you know, this is what we got to do, and I hope they listen.
Yeah, it's a great hire because, look, the entire fan base, they have an identity right now. This is our guy. He's the Patriot way. Works for him. This is the perfect spot for Vrabel to be in.
And, D. Wood, they have the 4th pick in the draft. They have $130 million in salary cap space, and they have a young quarterback people are very high on in Drake May. That's a pretty good situation.
It's a great situation. Like, you can flip things very quickly in the National Football League. The biggest thing is they got the quarterback. That's why I said New England was the top job, because you got the quarterback. And with the resource that the Patriots have at their disposal, and now getting Braves in the building,
I'll be pounding offensive line all offseason.
Go find them.
Go
get them.
Free agency.
Go get them.
There'll be guys there at the 4th pick if they want to take him. Kelvin Banks, other offensive linemen they could consider. Okay, Next up in our game of Who Likes Mike is Rex Ryan, the Cowboys. Today is their last day to hold exclusive negotiating rights to Mike McCarthy's contract. Tomorrow is that day, the last day, I should say. Rex, do you like Mike to come back as the Cowboys coach next year?
I do not. I've been saying it. When expectations are Super Bowl and you don't even make the playoffs, I think that's I don't care. Injuries, whatever, everybody has them. Yeah. No, I don't want to hear it. I think he's out.
This should have been done by now, Rex, right? Well, you're gonna let him go where he can negotiate with other teams, and you've been holding him off from Chicago. And I understand business in terms of keeping all your options open while you got him under contract, but pretty soon McCarthy's going to say, listen, I got to worry about myself and my family, and where am I going to go to for next year?
I just think, the defense clearly needs to be replaced. That needs to be overhauled and things. I think they start anew. They go out and look for a new coach.
Then they should let him go. They should have let him go last week. He's got his job, assistant coaches, all these people whose livelihoods sort of hang in the balance. It feels like Jerry Jones has someone in the back of his mind. Who knows if behind, the scenes, those conversations are taking place. Okay, last one in our game of Who Likes Mike. Damien Woody, I'm coming directly to you because this is the question everyone around the league has been asking since Saturday night. Mike Tomlin has been the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers for 18 years. This season ended in extremely disappointing fashion. Do you like Mike to return for another season in Pittsburgh?
I think it's time. for the Pittsburgh Steelers to move in a different direction. I don't say that lightly because I love Mike Tomlin. I love what he stands for. I love the mentality that he brings. But Mike Tomlin, who's a magician, an orator, a word magician, one of his things he always says is the standard is the standard. Well, what is the standard in Pittsburgh right now? The standard right now is, we're talking about a guy, Mike Tomlin, the only Super Bowl winning coach to lose 6 straight playoff games.
Yes.
6 straight one-and-dones. Is that the standard of the Pittsburgh Steelers? The Pittsburgh Steelers are few blue-chip franchises that we have in our league. They are about championships, not backdooring, getting into the playoffs, and then, losing and you're back home again. That's not Pittsburgh. Okay? So I don't want to hear about quarterback. I don't want to hear about offensive systems. Okay? There's a bigger problem in the Steelers organization right now. There's a bigger problem. And again, I can have affinity towards Mike Tomlin, but also at the same breath understand that sometimes things run its course. We've seen it with Andy Reid in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Andy Reid was tremendous. Took multiple quarterbacks to Super Bowl, had all types of success with the Philadelphia Eagles. But it ran its course. And he moved on to the Kansas City Chiefs, and the rest is history. Going to be considered one of the best coaches ever to coach in the National Football League. Right now, in my opinion, it's time for the Pittsburgh Steelers to move on.
Just real quick on that. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you in terms of like the voice in 18 years, and it's been a while. And Mike Tomlin coached with his gut this year in terms of, from talking about the quarterback position with Justin Fields. Okay, I got Pickens. I got to bring in Russell Wilson. So his gut, I wonder if his gut tells him the same thing. That it's time for me to move on, because are we going to get me a quarterback that I can win another championship with? It's strange. We go from Jerry Jones, who's waiting, and then Mike Tomlin, who's I don't know what this is, but I don't know. I'm not trying to put two and two together here, but where does he want to be? That's the thing too. Because he knows also. I mean, I got to think that he thinks this could be time himself.
Bro, here's the thing. You're in the same division with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. Mike Tomlin has to be like banging his head knowing that I got to continue to deal with this, knowing that I don't have a quarterback. It's just so hard to win when you're going up against that every single year in the AFC North, Rex.
So to redo what you just did this year, you're probably going to have the same result.
But I'll say this. Number one, I disagree with you guys. I think he needs to stay. All right. He has a no trade clause, so he's going to have to you guys' point, that he's going to have to choose, I'd rather be at this place or whatever. But are you kidding me? Like, to me, here's what the standard is not lived up to. Pittsburgh has never been about their offense. Pittsburgh has always been about their defense. The defense, they're not living up to the standard. And at some point, I know Mike Tomlin's the most loyal guy of all time. At some point, you got to change the defense. You got to change the scheme on the defense. T.J. Watt's one of the best players in the league. You know how many tackles he had in that game? He had zero.
Yeah. The rookie from Washington that was clamping him up.
Absolutely, and then doubling him and all that type of stuff. You have to. You got to take a deep dive. Look, you've been getting crushed in your playoff games. You're basically giving up damn near 40 points a game in that 6-game losing streak and about 450 yards. That ain't cutting it. I don't see no L.C. Greenwood or Joe Green out there or Jack Lambert or anybody else. The history of that franchise is built on defense. That needs to be where the priority is.
And as good as T.J. Watt is, 0 playoff victories for T.J. Watt.
There you go.
I mean, you put it on quarterbacks, but there's one of the best defensive players that have been playing football.
You just gave up 300 yards rushing.
Yeah. I'm going to lodge one more objection. I'm not here to blanketly defend Mike Tomlin. I'm saying if you look at the players on that team, and in particular who his quarterbacks were this year, you show me who was taking them further than they just went.
Yeah,
I'm not doubting that.
You're not.
But I'm not doubting that. I'm not doubting the coaching job that Mike Tomlin did this year with what he was working with at the quarterback position. My issue, my thing is, what is the standard in Pittsburgh? We can't let go of that. For too long, Mike Tomlin hasn't had a playoff win since 2015. The Pittsburgh Steelers hasn't had a playoff win since 2015. We are in 2025. Okay? Like, come on. Hello. What are we talking here?
There's a lot of great coaches in the past that have also known when it's time to move on. And great coaches move on to other franchises. And does Mike T think it's time?
If he decides he thinks it's time, I'm good with that. What I'm saying is if they decide they could do better than him, be real careful what you wish for. As we continue, love hurts, quite literally. The Eagles leave Green Bay black and blue, but did they look like a title team in the process? That's not quite clear. Dan Orlovsky will join us live and answer all the questions as we get up with you in hour number 2 on ESPN.